Let me ask you something, and I want you to think about this before you reply. How many people do you know with a degree? In fact, how many people you know with multiple degrees? Now, I want you to think about those people, and of those degreed people or qualified people, how many of them are struggling to find a job? How many of them are struggling to transition out from their job into something bigger? How many of them are struggling to actually land opportunities that you know and they know are more in line with their level of experience and their expertise, but they can't seem to lock down the opportunities that pay them at the level that they deserve? Now, as a multi-degree holder myself, if it's one thing I know that the world is full of people with degrees in advanced education. In fact, if you are from TNT, you probably benefited from years of free education where everybody was graduating at one point with at least an undergraduate degree. But as I've transitioned into my own business, I've transitioned into building my consultancy and doing other projects, one thing I know for sure is that the opportunities don't necessarily come to those with a degree or those who may be qualified. The opportunities come to those people who are positioned to show up as the problem solver when people have very specific problems to solve. So if you're a talented professional who is trying to make your expertise work for you beyond your job, or you're trying to grow a consultancy and you are finding it very difficult to make your expertise make sense and certainly make dollars for you, in this video, I'm going to share with you 5 shifts that you need to make right now in order to reposition your personal brand and reputation from just another degree holder into a sought after expert that people pay top dollar to solve the problems that they have. And I want you to stay with me until the end, because I think the last shift, people rarely ever speak about it, but it is so important to you standing out from the crowd. So let's get into it. Shift number 1 is that you need to become a diagnostician. And I want to use a medical analogy here to illustrate what I mean. Do you remember the show House from TV? Dr. House was a renowned diagnostician. He was the one solving problems that all other doctors simply could not figure out. Now, think of when you last visited a doctor. Maybe you had some sort of issue that you couldn't seem to put your finger on, or maybe you even went to a few doctors and you were referred to a specialist. Now, when you went to this specialist, maybe they asked you a few questions, they asked you how you felt, and they asked some very particular questions. And you may have seen them shaking their heads, writing notes down, and this person was in the process of actually figuring out what may have been wrong with you. Now, like a diagnostician or somebody who specializes in really going deep in a problem to understand all of the features and details, you need to be able to recognize the symptoms of your audience or your lead or your client's problems. When you are able to recognize their problem and diagnose the issue through a series of very carefully curated questions, or even looking at the symptoms and being able to identify and say, this is what we are dealing with, you will have officially shifted from just another consultant who kind of gets it into the person who understands this problem so deeply that it cannot hide from you. Similar to when you went to see the specialist for yourself, you probably didn't have to over-explain or know medical language in order for this doctor to figure things out. As an expert, you have to be the same. A lot of times your leads may not be able to describe the problem in technical language, but because you understand the problem and you are a diagnostician, you can recognize the symptoms when your customers describe it. So here's what I want you to do to be able to test your level of diagnostic skills. Take the biggest problem that your clients are experiencing right now. Then I want you to describe it from their perspective. Don't use technical language, don't use your own perspective, but describe it in the way that they would describe it. Describe the things that they see, the things that they feel, and even the things that they try to attempt to solve the problem. When you're able to capture how your audience feels, how it emotionally impacts them, how it financially impacts them because they may have been attempting to solve a problem without truly understanding what it is, this is when you start transitioning from just another consultant into someone who truly understands your audience. You become almost like a mind reader. And your ability to do this publicly is one of the quickest ways that you could reposition yourself from just another consultant hoping for an opportunity into a sought after expert that people look to solve very specific problems. You start repositioning yourself from generic into specific and strategic. And this is what industry authorities look and sound like. Shift number 2, and I'm going to be direct here because I think shift number 2 is one of the most misunderstood elements of personal branding. This is where you actually have to declare your expertise and keep declaring it over and over again until people never forget your name. Now, I'm not talking about arrogance here. No need to cue Kanye West. And I'm not talking about performing confidence. I'm speaking about something much more specific, and that is your willingness to make clear and unhedged statements about your level of expertise and your ability to solve a problem. It's your willingness to declare your value and not soften your position, not walk it back, and not cower because you fear being judged by other people. That fear of showing up boldly is something I see constantly, particularly when it comes to women who are trying to establish themselves as experts. Brilliant women who are very experienced, who have done the work, they have the track record, but they are just afraid to boldly declare that they are capable of doing the job. So you say things like, well, I kind of help people, or I could try, or I am a jack of all trades and a master of none. And then you wonder why people will not hire you or they don't feel confident to hand their money over to you. Let me tell you what hedging does. Hedging communicates uncertainty. And uncertainty, that's the enemy of authority. Trusted experts make declarations, not because they don't think that they can improve or maybe somebody else doesn't have another equally as brilliant idea, but trusted experts are confident because they have done the internal work, they have the track record, and they know what they are capable of. And here's the best part about being declarative. Declaring your expertise ensures that you always attract the most aligned leads who can come the best clients, because these are the people who want exactly what you have to offer. It also rejects and repels the most unaligned leads, so you know you never waste time trying to satisfy somebody who would never understand and who truly does not need your service. Shift number 3 is one of the most fascinating ones, and it's the quality that separates good professionals from truly distinct experts who can solve a problem. And this is the ability to understand your expertise at a molecular level. Let me explain what I mean by that. Most professionals understand their expertise at what I call the application level. They know how to do the work. They have developed their skills through practice and experience. They are competent. In fact, they are quite competent at what they do. And there's real value in that. But there's another level of expertise. There's a level that goes deeper. Going beneath the surface of your skills to understand the principles that guide them and hold them together. It's a level where you don't just know what works, but you understand why it works. You understand the underlying mechanics, the root logic, and the reason your particular approach produces a specific type of result. You are no longer limited to the specific context within which you first developed your expertise. You can walk into a completely different industry, completely different type of organization, and apply your same exact skills to solve problems in a new context. And this happens not because you are pattern matching, but this happens because you understand the underlying principles that govern your skills and expertise. Now think about what this means for your professional footprint. It means your expertise is not fixed. It is flexible. The principles that govern your expertise are adaptive. This means you can create value in a number of environments. And that makes you fundamentally a different type of person to work with. You stop being a practitioner and you start becoming a strategist. You go beyond the operational side of things or the tactical side of things, and you become someone who could change the outcome of things, and you can reliably predict what outcomes could be in a particular situation. Those are two very different positions, and they will command two very different types of compensation. So here's the question: where do you sit? Are you a practitioner who is just pattern matching and doing work that you're told to do, or doing work that you figure out along the way? Or are you a strategist who understands the fundamental principles that guide your expertise, and you can adapt those principles in a number of environments to get almost an identical outcome in each case? When you start transitioning from being just a tactician or an operational person into a strategic thinker and planner, this is when your personal brand starts to shift from being just another generic consultant or generic service provider into a well sought after expert that people would pay top dollar. Now, the next shift is one I have to be really precise about, and it is making excellence a standard and not a goal. Now, a lot of times when people talk about being excellent or making excellence a goal, it is because this goal is something that they are working towards. But excellence being a standard means that it is resident in your life every day, and everything that you do, you aim to do it at a level of excellence. It means that you prioritize quality over speed. You prioritize quality over quantity of work that you can get done. When excellence is your standard and not a goal, it fundamentally changes your approach to every single thing. You are not just focused on getting something done, but you are thinking about the inputs, you're thinking about your reputation, you're thinking about the client experience. You are thinking about every single thing that could affect your reputation when it comes to delivering on the thing you promised to deliver. It also means that you are always committed to improving yourself as a provider. So you understand that excellence isn't something that you just happen upon, and it's not random. It is very deliberate, it is very intentional, and you put in the work to ensure that you deliver at a high quality every single time. It means you need to quality control yourself, quality control the people you work with, quality control your inputs so that you can have a high quality output at the other side for your customers. There's a reason why certain names are associated with quality in any given industry. It's because they do not compromise when it comes to weaving excellence and high quality inputs throughout their process, so they can ensure that the high quality outputs are coming out on the other side. And this is not just confined to their products, it shows up in their communication at all their brand touchpoints, in the way that they present themselves. When excellence is a standard, it is evident in everything that a brand does. So if you want to be regarded as one of the top people in your field, or maybe the top person in your field, you are going to have to shift from thinking about excellence as a goal that you're trying to reach for, and start thinking of it as a standard that you weave into everything that you do in your life. Now we get to shift number 5, and this is the one sometimes people tend not to mention when it comes to transitioning yourself from just a generic face in the crowd into somebody that stands out. And this is your commitment to always developing a body of work. Now, trusted experts prioritize building a body of work. And I want to be clear here, this isn't just a portfolio of things you've done or projects you've been involved in. This is the literal embodiment of the things that you believe, is the embodiment of your philosophies, of your theories, your frameworks, your systems, and it is you putting these things into work so that people can benefit from the way that you do things. It's a coherent and consistent intellectual perspective that shows the world how you perceive the problems in your industry and how you would approach them to solve them. And here's why this matters so much for authority. Because authority is not shaped by what you know, it is shaped by what people believe that you know. And what people believe about you and what you know comes from them observing you over time and seeing the things that you've put out, seeing the perspectives that you have, seeing the problems that you solve, seeing the people that you've worked with, and seeing the impact of the way that you think. A great piece of content might bring you a surge of attention. It might add a few more followers to your channels, and it might even bring you a few good leads. But the person who consistently produces quality over time, whether that is quality content, quality products, quality systems, or even delivering quality work to their clients, this is the person that is going to be positioned as the expert, as opposed to that person who gets one surge of attention from one piece of content they happen to produce. Embodying your work over time by sharing the way that you think, your approach to problems, the systems that you've built, not only enhances you, but it moves your industry forward. And if you want to be seen as the type of expert that people seek out, you have to think beyond the now. You have to think beyond the delivery of a product now, and you have to think about how what you put out adds to the richness of your industry, and it moves your industry forward. You don't need to be producing at maximum every single day. You need to produce at a level you can sustain. This will help you to maintain a steady schedule, and this will give you the opportunity to produce quality content and quality material over time. The people who do this are the ones who will be undeniable in their industry, because they've shown up day after day, month after month, and year after year with an unbroken record of quality and delivery. Your body of work is your legacy in motion, and it starts today by whatever you decide to put out next. So let's bring it all together, the 5 shifts. But before I dive into the 5 shifts, I just want to say something. Being a trusted expert in your field isn't about having the longest track record or having the most experience. It's about who can clearly communicate their value, who can consistently show up with a standard of excellence, and how you deliberately build your presence that positions you as an authority in your field. These 5 shifts are not a checklist, but they are practices and habits and positions you need to develop in your professional world that will compound over time. Shift 1. Become a diagnostician. Develop the ability to name your audience's problems with conviction. And shift 2. Be declarative. Own your position, state your value, and stop performing for people who were never in your audience to begin with. Go beneath the surface of your expertise. Understand the principles. Develop the adaptability that comes from deep understanding. Shift 4, make excellence your standard. In your craft, in your output, and in everything that you put your name on. Shift 5, build a body of work. Show up consistently, document your thinking, and let your insight compound into authority. This is personal branding at its core. It's not just your color palette or your logo or your aesthetics or even your content calendar. Those things matter, but they are just vessels. And what fills them is your positioning. And positioning is built from the inside out. If this video gave you something today, share it and consider subscribing to this channel. I am sure that there's somebody in your network who needs to hear this right now. Somebody who is probably competent, capable, but totally invisible. And this conversation might be exactly what they need to start making the shift. And if you're ready to do this work with real structure and real strategy, not just inspiration, but a framework and a real plan, I want to help you build that. The link is in the description. You know exactly where to find me. I will see you in the next one.